Hi everyone, my name is Kean Graham. I'm the CEO and founder of MonetizeMore. I'm going to be presenting a 20-minute webinar, and then we're going to have some time for questions and answers after. Before I get into it, I'd like to mention that MonetizeMore is a publisher monetization partner. You can visit MonetizeMore.com to request a free consultation. All right, so the webinar is about the evolution of ad ops in 2017. Most people know David Ogilvy, and he's known in this famous quote, "Never stop testing and your advertising will never stop improving." Now, this is about the traditional advertising industry. However, this applies even more so to the online advertising industry. If you want to get the best return from your programmatic strategy, and one sec here. There we go. Sorry about that. All right, that should be better. So if you want to get the best out of your programmatic strategy, then it's very important to commit to testing. So the overall trend of ad ops within 2017 is optimization has moved from the ad server to actual technology optimization. A big part of this is due to header bidding. Rather than updating price priorities within your ad server on a daily basis, this happens automatically, or even the need for adjusting passback waterfalls isn't necessary as well. The room to increase your ad revenues actually happens with iteration from your technology. So we break down these three evolutions into intrusive ads, ad ops automation, and technology iteration. So the first one is intrusive ads. This has been a big push from some big companies that you're all aware of. First off, there's Facebook, which is currently penalizing intrusive ads. So we're talking about autoplay video ads, pop-ups, pop-unders, interstitials. Any of these intrusive ads that decrease the user experience. So Facebook has an algorithm that determines which websites get the most organic traffic. And they prefer websites that have better user experience. And they've found that certain type of ads decrease user experience. So the more intrusive ads that a website gets, the less organic traffic they're going to get from Facebook. And then there's Google Chrome and Apple Safari, which are building ad blockers that are going to be blocking pushy ads especially. So these are the same type of ads I mentioned for Facebook, like in-banner videos, also known as autoplay video ads, pop-ups, pop-unders, interstitials. These are eventually going to be blocked by some of the largest browsers on the web. So what does this mean for publishers? First off, we'd recommend to stop running pop-ups and pop-unders, interstitials, and IBVs because they're eventually going to get blocked and they're currently being penalized by Facebook. Instead, boost your display and native strategy. This should be the core of your strategy, and you should be focusing on improving the RPMs from these ad revenue sources because they're not going to be blocked by the major browsers and they're not penalized by Facebook. And finally, blocking malvertising. Some of the worst malvertising out there are mobile redirects or mobile pop-ups that happen automatically from malvertisers. So we have technology that can block this, but this is important because to avoid getting penalized by Facebook or decreasing your user experience, you should block this type of malvertising. So it's a very important thing to consider, especially if you're planning to have your technology in-house. The second evolution of the ad ops industry is actual automation of ad ops. So the first thing that tends to take publishers a lot of time is copy and pasting data from each revenue source into a Excel spreadsheet. So this takes a lot of time, but now there is more APIs available within ad networks that publishers can connect with, and they have the ability to create fetchers to consolidate all the reporting in an automatic basis within their own platform. And then there's also the evolution of the waterfall setup within ad servers moving towards header bidding. So this is automated ad ops because there's no need for adjusting the price priorities on a daily basis. They don't have to keep on testing different passback setups. This has all been automated, which saves the ad ops team a lot of time. So this means you can say goodbye to Excel, which I'm sure many of you would be happy about. You also have to make important tech decisions. Are you going to keep everything in-house and build the technology in-house, or will you outsource it to a partner that can provide this type of technology? And if you decide to keep it in-house, your ad ops team will need coding skills because, like I mentioned, the actual optimization is moving from the ad server to the actual technology iteration, which will require coding skills to actually improve and innovate that technology. The third evolution is technology iteration. So if you decide to keep this in-house, you'll need to dedicate your ad tech dev team to testing. So testing, adding new features that will improve, say, the header bid auction, and whether that will actually increase RPMs or keep it the same, and testing different ways to actually implement it. Because it's not just about implementing the feature, it's how you implement it. And there's thousands of different ways you can implement each feature. And then it's also important when you implement the other sides of these auctions. So header bidding is one way of getting real-time bids, but there's also exchange bidding, which is from the Google side that's happening within DoubleClick for Publishers, or otherwise known as DFP. And then there's also the server-to-server side, which is like header bidding, but it happens on the server side. So the way we see it is sophisticated publishers are going to be competing these three types of auctions against each other. And in order to take full advantage of each of these types of auctions, you need technology that can handle each one, and you need to do constant testing to see how to best compete each type of auction against each other within your ad server. So in terms of innovating your header bid wrapper, if you decide to keep it in-house, there are 5 features that are very important to increase your RPMs and decrease your page load times of your sites. So the first one is bid and viewability scaling. So bid scaling is what you need when there are discrepancies between your ad server and the actual revenue source. When there's a discrepancy, you need to adjust the bids coming from that ad revenue source so that they're actually getting accurate bids, so that they are making bids based on what they're actually paying out. This also goes for ad networks that do not pay out on non-viewable ad impressions. So it's important for you to measure the actual viewability rates and then adjust the bids multiplied by that viewability rate. So again, so that you're getting those accurate bids on a real-time basis. Second is granular targeting. Each ad network actually targets particular geos and certain devices and other targeting parameters. So it's important to know what they actually target, measure what they actually target, so that these ad networks are only allowed to bid on users that they're going to target. You want to maximize your participation rate, because if you send out ad requests that are not being returned with bid responses, then you're wasting valuable resources on the browser, and you're going to increase the page load times with no benefit for increased RPMs. So you want to decrease that waste. The third feature is bidder variation testing. So when you're deciding on whether to add a new ad network or whether it's worth it to keep a certain ad network, it's important to trust the data. And the data is really important in this case because you should be able to see all the different variation of ad network bidders and see whether your auction actually incurs a higher RPM with a particular bidder or without. And then you can make the certain calculation of whether it makes sense to keep that bidder or take them out of the auction. The fourth is auto bidder dropout. So certain ad networks, they do not bid on every page view. They have frequency caps on their bids, and it's important to minimize that waste so that you increase your participation rates for all your bidders, and that the bidders only compete for the ad impression that they'll actually bid on. So, for example, if an ad network bidder has not bid in the past 3 ad impressions, then they should be sent out of the actual auction for the remaining part of the session. And the final one is machine learning. This technology brings everything together. It looks at KPIs like RPMs, like page load speed, even the more granular ones like participation rates. And it either maximizes it for RPMs and for participation rates, or minimizes it for actual page load times. So this machine learning will adjust certain factors to improve the KPIs as much as possible, and this on an ongoing basis will maximize or minimize your KPIs to the benefit of your sites and overall ad revenues. So the big question is, do you outsource or do you keep your technology in-house? And this is a very important question for your overall company, because for many publishers, this is the majority of the revenues. If you decide to outsource to an ad technology partner, you should pay attention to 3 important criteria. The first one is ownership. If you outsource your ad technology, you should definitely keep control of your ad server. Everything should run within your ad server, and you should not give up ownership of your DNS as well. Some ad partners require you to give up ownership of your DNS or use their centralized ad server or their technology. It's important for you to know what's happening within your ad inventory and to have control of it in case things go wrong. Which leads me to transparency. You should actually know what's happening in ad inventory. You should see the granular stats. You should know which ad networks are performing the best, which advertisers are doing well, which ad units, for example, are getting the highest click-through rates, because this is going to advise the rest of your company, for example, your sales team. Or you can make very important business decisions based on these stats. However, if you don't have that transparency, you're kind of handcuffed and you won't be able to use the data to your. And the third one is performance. This probably is no big surprise to any of you. Performance is obviously king in this case, and you want to go with the ad technology partner that gets the highest RPMs, the lowest page load times, and will end up increasing your ad revenues with the best UX possible. So we recommend doing even A/B tests. Pay attention to the testimonials so you find out the best ad partner that will give the best performance for your site. So MonetizeMore has created a platform that it will allow publishers to run their ad ops in a do-it-yourself fashion. It also has automated reporting that unifies all the different ad networks into one place. And a really important part is there's no conflict of interest. MonetizeMore has no demand sources. We're 100% publisher focused, and we do not have any interest towards going towards any demand sources. Because we don't have our own, we are completely unbiased, and we run a fair auction. This is not because there isn't a fair auction going. So PubGuru has all three benefits that we talked about. There's ownership, because you can run PubGuru within your own ad server. You can keep your DNS settings. For transparency, we provide all the important stats within the platform, and we can push all the stats into your DSP. Finally, through all the even A/B tests that we've run, we've found that PubGuru has earned the highest RPM versus each alternative that we compared against. And you can get the if you're interested in each one of these tests, we can provide the case studies if you email us. In terms of the PubGuru interface, like I mentioned, we have automated reporting that's unified within the platform. You can see that from the screenshot. We have discrepancy reports so that publishers can tell the difference in revenue and ad impression stats between their ad server and the actual ad revenue sources. So if there is a large discrepancy, you can use these stats to send it over to the ad rep to see what the issue is, and you can get it remedied. We're also adding additional features like a DFP implementer. So it's much easier to implement DFP, and you can do it all within the PubGuru platform. We are building a AdX integration so that you can be added to the AdX ad exchange, and then it will automatically implement it into your actual DFP account without any additional effort on your end. And there's a header bid ad server, so you can manage your whole header bid stack within our proprietary ad server. And we are also implementing free optimization tools that will be provided within the platform. Overall, we're estimated to optimize over $72 million exclusive by MonetizeMore within 2017. Over 300 million users saw ads optimized by MonetizeMore on a monthly basis. And our premium publishers have a very low churn rate of 0.5% because they are happy with our offer. To sign up is an easy process. You simply sign up on MonetizeMore.com. Then our team will look at your domains and will screen them for Google and header bidding policy to make sure you're fully compliant. If you are not, we will send customized feedback to help you get to a fully compliant level. And then if your publisher network is over 20 million pages per month, then we will initiate a concierge setup so that you don't have to worry about all the technicalities and the huge amount of work that is related to implementing header bidding. We'll handle that, and then we'll send you the code to implement on your sites with instructions as well. Thanks, everyone. That's the webinar. If you have any questions, please type it into the message board, and Brendan will also send over the social media contacts so that you can follow us for additional webinars or content. Okay, so we have a question here. What is the optimal amount of header bidding partners if the page load is not a big issue? So one of the features that we have on PubGuru, and this is also a feature if you decide to run your ad stack, your ad technology in-house, is the bidder variation testing. So it's important to create a type of technology or use a type of technology that compares the different bidding variations. So say that you're running a variation AOL versus index exchange versus triple lift. So you can have a variation where you have all three, and then another variation where you only have triple lift and index exchange. You take out AOL. And if the three, it has a higher RPM than just the two, then you know AOL adds value to the auction and it's worth keeping in there. So it's all these different variations that's important to measure the RPMs, and then you can deduct with certainty whether it's worth adding this particular ad network, because it isn't a number of ad partners that run within the auction. It's which ad partners to add and what combination. You also have to consider that if the page load isn't a big issue, you still kind of just focus on the RPMs. If you want to, the thing that's more relevant to the actual page load is the timeout that you set within the header wrapper. Okay, so we have another question here. When countering bad disruptive ad formats, a header bidding partner, what is an alternative to pausing the partner completely? So when you're coming across bad disruptive ads, what we recommend is speaking to the ad rep at the header bid partner and blocking the particular creative or format, trying to catch it and send it over to them to block it. So that's probably what you mean by the conventional way. It matters what type of ads. If you're talking about a creative, then you pretty much have to catch it and send it over to them. If you are talking about some of the really bad malvertising like mobile redirects or mobile pop-ups, then that's a really tricky thing to catch. However, we have developed technology to block it, not just detect it, but actually block it before it even happens. Because as some of you might know, how damaging some of this malvertising is, you want to block it before the damage has even been done. So we've been successful with that, and that's offered within PubGuru. And that, in our minds, is the best way to avoid the damage of these type of disruptive or damaging ads. Okay, we have another question here. Which DSPs do you work with? So we do not work directly with DSPs. We work with SSPs and other ad networks via header bidding. Because we're not an actual demand source like some of these SSPs, we don't work directly with DSPs. However, we are looking at enabling DSPs to be actual demand sources to disintermediate certain SSPs. So that's some things that we're looking at to increase the overall RPMs for the publishers, because you're essentially cutting out a middleman. So that's something that we're looking at. It's more of a long-term thing, but good question on that part. We have another question. Do we work with Latin America? Yes, we do. We have several large publishers that we are currently optimizing and running header bidding within Latin America. We work worldwide. We have another question. I have Indian traffic. Is header bidding an option for me? Yes, it is. We also work with Indian sites for running header bidding for them, and it was performing quite well. So header bidding can work really in any country, depending on the level of advertiser sophistication. Some might not be compatible with header bidding. It takes some time for some countries. The US is the country that's the most ahead with this. Those type of advertisers seem to be the most sophisticated. So, but header bidding can work for any country's traffic. Just some countries will get more advertiser participation with header bidding than others. But as time goes on, header bidding is becoming more popular with advertisers. And that will follow with some of the other nations. Okay, so we have a follow-up question. For the Indian traffic, I have Facebook traffic site. I hear the fill is 5%. So I'm not sure what you mean by fill for Facebook traffic sites. It's for the Facebook traffic site, perhaps you mean a fill rate from some of the different ad networks. 5% would be very low. It matters what your ad stack is. You should definitely shoot for 100% fill, especially if you're using demand sources like Google AdSense or Ad Exchange. Okay, so that's all we have time for questions. Brandon should provide the social media contacts who should follow us, to follow our, to get on our newsletter, we're blogging every week in terms of ad optimization tips and how to iterate your technology, and to follow us on Twitter, and we have YouTube how-tos that are come up every 2 weeks. So please follow us. We want to help empower publishers to improve their ad optimization practices to increase your ad revenues. Thank you, everyone.